and gentlemen, good evening and thanks for joining us for the last edition of our 6 p.m. news edition over Campus Television. Let's begin with at least 65 people have died in a deadly Ebola outbreak in Northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo, with hundreds more feared infected as health officials race to contain the virus. The outbreak centered in Ituri province has raised fears of cross-border spread into Uganda and South Sudan. This story and more will be yours in a bit. On our special 20th May page, as Cameroon prepares for its National Day, the slogan "One and Indivisible" risks becoming a routine phrase, yet it shall reflect a lived reality beyond ceremonies and parades. In every life, markets, schools, homes, and places of worship, Cameroonians of different backgrounds continue to coexist, even as digital spaces amplify division and tribal noise. Despite political tensions, the country's daily interactions still quietly sustain the idea of unity, as Bertrand Tita tells us in the following part.
Nous la même puisque dans l'unité tout est possible. Au nom de nos enfants, faisons la paix en Afrique.
The strength of Cameroon has never been in erasing difference. It's in making difference work. The country's cultural map reads like a mosaic. Fulani, Bamileke, Bassa, Bamum, Bakweri, Kidi, Grassfield, and dozens more. That diversity is not a bug. It's why Cameroonian football, food, and music travel. When the indomitable Lions play, the line between Anglophone and Francophone, Bamileke and Bassa disappears behind a single flag and anthem. That is not sentimentality. It's the one experience most Cameroonians share that feels national. The real friction today isn't in the villages and cities where people live cheek by jowl. It's on screens where anonymous accounts mine history for grievance and algorithm towards outrage. Tribal provocation has become content, and content travels faster than context. This matters because perception shapes policy, investment, and peace. If Cameroonians start believing their country is as fractured as their timeline suggests, they will act accordingly. The danger is not that the nation will split overnight, it's that trust will erode slowly until solidarity feels naive. Walk through Douala, Bafoussam, Garoua or Bamenda. People still trade, marry, study and bury their dead across ethnic lines. A trader from the northwest sells in the east, a civil servant from the south serves in the north. The Cameroonian everywhere at home idea isn't propaganda, it's how most people live. That's why the loudest voice online often represents the smallest slice of reality. Popular wisdom, the kind that tells you to share a plate of koki with your neighbor regardless of where he's from, is still stronger than the hashtag campaigns that want to sort Cameroonians into camps. If May 20th is to mean anything in 2026, it has to be a reset. A reminder that unity is not inheritance once and for all. It's maintained through daily choices to call out hate speech, to teach kids the history that connects them, to invest in justice and dialogue so grievances don't fester. Cameroon is a living body. You don't cut off a line because it hurts. You treat it, strengthen it, keep it attached. That means choosing solidarity over cynicism, social justice over selective outrage, and patriotism that doesn't require silence on problems. The parade on May 20th will end. The real test begins the day after, when Cameroonians log back on, go back to work, and decide whether they will let the ritual noise override the lived reality. The answer so far has been clear. The country holds not because differences doesn't exist, but because Cameroonians have chosen again and again to make those differences an asset rather than a weapon. That choice is what preserves what matters.
The 32nd edition of the International Day of the Family has been observed this Friday, May 15, 2026, under the theme Families, Inequalities and Child Well-being. In Yaoundé, activities organized by the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family revealed that peace begins from the home. We have details from Freddy Esomo and Promise Akante.
This UN-designated day focuses on leveraging family-oriented policies to combat inequality, enhance child welfare, and strengthen resilience against poverty. The theme of the International Day of Families for 2026, Families, Inequalities and Child Well-being, emphasizes that child well-being is intrinsically linked to familial support systems, especially amidst rising global inequalities. Officials of the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family also laid emphasis on the fight against all forms of violence within the family. The objectives of this conference is to give information on the family in the fight against inequalities between family members, as well as for the well-being of the child, the protection of the rights of the child, the prevention of gender-based violence, the prevention of violence and abuse on children. Discussions prioritized family-centric initiatives such as improved parental leave, affordable childcare and community support, while reiterating that the core of every nation is the family. The first riches of every nation is her population, and for the population to exist, there has to be families. The totality of families make up the nation. Peace starts from the home, then spreads to the community, divisions, regions, and then nationwide. The 32nd edition of the International Day of Families was also a moment to urge parents to do better.
Les enfants sont victimes de violence.
Children are victims of violence. Mothers are victims of violence. Fathers too. So, celebrating the Day of the Family does not mean turning a blind eye to all these phenomena that we deplore, but it means there is hope and that we can do otherwise. Thus, our role is to mobilize parents to say we can do better to avoid all what we are living today.
Pour éviter tout ce que nous vivons aujourd'hui.
Officials of the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family therefore call on parents to be present in the lives of their children through their positive parenting program, which takes into account the present context of the society, which is extremely violent for everyone.
We take you out of the country as you heard in one of our lead stories. At least 65 people have died in a deadly Ebola outbreak in Northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo, with hundreds more feared infected as health officials raise to contain the virus. The outbreak centered in Ituri province has raised fears of cross-border spread into Uganda and South Sudan. Second stop will be in South Africa and then Lebanon. Details of these stories in the following report. Fear is mounting across Central Africa as health authorities race to contain a deadly Ebola outbreak in Northeastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, where at least 65 people have died and 100 more are feared infected. The Africa CDC says 246 suspected cases have been recorded, with preliminary tests confirming Ebola in 13 samples as experts work to identify the strain. Ituri province remains the hottest hit area, while suspected cases in Bunia have raised fears of cross-border spread into Uganda and South Sudan. The World Health Organization, alongside companies, is supporting emergency response efforts against the highly contagious disease. Political tensions are rising in South Africa as President Cyril Ramaphosa faces impeachment pressure over the controversial Fala-Fala Farmgate cash hit scandal. The Constitutional Court recently revived proceedings linked to the alleged theft of nearly $4 million hidden at the president's farm, reopening a case the ruling African National Congress had blocked in 2022. Despite growing calls for his resignation, Ramaphosa has refused to step down, while ANC Secretary General confirmed the president would challenge the Section 89 report in court. Analysts say the impeachment process still faces major legal and parliamentary hurdles, with the ANC expected to rally behind its embattled leader. Tensions remain high in Lebanon as new U.S.-backed talks with Israel divide residents over the future of peace and Hezbollah's weapons. While some support Hezbollah's disarmament to restore state authority, others distrust Israel and oppose any agreement seen as favoring it. Despite ongoing ceasefire efforts, fighting continues in southern Lebanon, with 1,000 killed and over 1 million displaced, while Hezbollah leader has dismissed the negotiations and vowed not to leave the battlefield. The talks are also aimed at securing the withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon and preventing wider regional escalation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. It was a pleasure staying with you. Do enjoy the rest of the weekend in the company of interesting programs over Camdis Television. Thanks for watching.